Start with biological boys playing in girls' sports. That's one thing. The fact that we have gender pronoun classes in the military now. I mean, all of these things that are pushing what a small minority want on the majority of Americans, it's too much. My daughter ran track in high school. I don't even know how I would have that conversation with her. How are we supposed to get our girls used to the fact that biological boys are in their locker rooms? And then we wonder why a third of our teenage girls seriously contemplated suicide last year.
Now, why Haley, former Governor Haley, is conflating those two things, God only knows. Well, you know what? We do know. It's a dog whistle. It's to continue to paint people as the other. She knows exactly what she's doing. So while Haley is right about an increase in suicidal thoughts among young women in recent years, there is one problem about her connecting that to trans athletes being in the locker room. Let's see what the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, what they have to say on this issue. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recently noted an increasing trend of suicidal thoughts among young women in recent years, but they did not produce evidence backing Haley's claim that trans kids are the root cause. Really glad. Mediaite, thank you, Ken. People digging into this and fact checking this chick all along the way. What she is doing is dangerous and is wrong. Furthermore, Jake Tapper pushed back on Haley by invoking the Trevor Project, which finds that 41% of LGBTQ young people seriously considered suicide in the past year, and that anti-LGBTQ movements have been detrimental to their mental health. So glad that Jake didn't just let her get that off. See, she's talking to a certain mindset. And again, her and others like her are trying to set up the other. And this kind of talk creates a dangerous atmosphere for the transgender community, period. And they know exactly what they're doing. But you know what? Jake leaned in on this even more. Tapper confronted Haley on her claim by asking if there is room for the humanity of these young people in the debate. Haley countered by arguing that transgenderism has overtaken the entire conversation, and that's not fair to the rest of our kids. This is what she said. Yeah, it's overtaking the conversation because people like her, they keep bringing it up over and over and over and over and over and over a damn again because they don't have a vision. They don't have nothing else to talk about. They're not leaders. They just running the run, but they're not running to change material conditions in this country for all people, period. Okay, they running to make madness and foolishness. So that's why, because if she had a vision, she'd be talking about that and not focusing in on one issue, this issue right here that doesn't put food on people's table, doesn't help parents have a job, doesn't give workers sick and paid leave, doesn't give the American people universal health care. None of those things. Doesn't increase funding in education. None of that. The chick, it got a problem. Her and others like her, and I'm calling her out for it. Now, Jackson, just jump on in here. Let me know what you think, because I'm going in even further on this. I'm just getting started.
Well, I think you pointed it out just perfectly, is that the reason that Nikki Haley or any of the other Republicans go on and on about these kinds of issues is because they ain't talking about nothing outside of that. They don't have any plans to address anything that's actually plaguing the American populace, anything that's actually shrinking the middle class, that's actually destroying the working class's ability to climb up the economic ladder. Her nor any other Republicans have any plans to address that. And that's why Ron DeSantis is talking about woke this and woke that. Neither of them have any chance of becoming president, but nonetheless, they really represent what the Republican agenda is. But the bottom line is, no matter where you stand on the issue, let's say a transgender athletes in sports, even if you think that they shouldn't be allowed to participate, that's such a minute issue that just doesn't touch most people in the United States. Like, it's just not something that most people are ever going to have to deal with in any kind of way whatsoever. And then again, as you pointed out, real issues that drive people to suicide. It's an incredibly nuanced discussion. A lot of it stems from poverty. A lot of it stems from people feeling like they don't have a place and a purpose. That's definitely amplified when you're younger, but you still see that among adults. You know, you've been working your whole life, you feel like you're on a path, and whoop, life happens, and now you don't know exactly what you're doing. So there's all types of reasons why people end up making that tragic decision. But the bottom line is that the GOP has absolutely no plans to address anything, which is why they're taking everybody's rights away.
That's it. And the culture war, I mean, they just pouring all kinds of gasoline. And let's dig a little deeper into why, you know, some of what Governor Haley is saying is very, very dangerous. It ain't not the only thing she said. We're just getting started here, but what she's saying is very dangerous. Now I want to go back to something that Jake Tapper asked. Jake asked Haley the most pivotal question, I think a very important question. Is there room for the humanity of these young people in the debate? That really is the question. Why so much intolerance, especially when it comes to children? Now, it is okay to probe and to ask questions and find solutions to solve for fairness in organized sports. I believe that it is not out of bounds to ask probing questions, to want to know what does fairness look like in organized sports. That's okay. I mean, we take boxing by way of example. We have lightweight, we have middleweight, and we have heavyweight. Now you're not gonna see a heavyweight fighting a lightweight, right? Because 9 times out of 10 or 99.9% of the time, the heavyweight is gonna knock out the lightweight. So there are categories, we get it. It's not unfair, it is fair to ask the question. Is what is this going to look like in terms of competition? That's not out of bounds. And I know some people on the left think it's out of bounds. I do not. Let's ask the question.
That's one of the more reasonable areas for debate.
It is, but you know, just let's find the solution. Yeah. There is a solution here, but what we should not do is otherize the transgender community, make that community feel like they don't belong, especially children. That's what we should not do. And this chick is a mother too on top of it. I just don't understand this. So let's ask the questions. Let's find the answers. Let's find the solutions.